In 2019, we began to build our dream.
But the journey started long before you were invited to watch.
We walked a path that spanned nearly 2 decades.
There were times of joy, pain, and everything in between.
Our lives have completely changed, and we're ready to tell you how it happened.
We're not holding back.
Our mistakes, regrets,
What we wish we could change, our best decisions.
and if we do it again, you'll hear it all.
Come back in time with us behind the camera and answer the question,
Is self-building worth it?
Welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. This is self-building worth it? And we're going to talk about some different framing techniques in post frame. We're going to be watching a video where in our garage we use some bookshelf girts on the interior. But let's go ahead and talk about our patron group and our design services.
Sure. So if you're looking for a really good resource to learn more about the process, to consider DIYing, if you're planning on DIYing, whether it be your general contracting or some of the actual construction elements, join our Patreon membership. It's the hands down the best resource, the best access to get your questions answered by Paul, the community of people that will support you through it. Super minimal cost to join, so you can check that out. And then we also have a design firm, Back 40 Buildings. You can get your Barndominium plans through us. We do stick, steel, and post frame. So you can check out the stock plans, or we have full custom design services.
Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so we are in the garage. And as I told you, I'm probably going to do a decent amount of metal in here. So I'm just going to put bookshelf girts in the entire garage. And bookshelf girts are framing that goes between the posts, and they sit just like this here. And you toenail them into the posts. They're actually really, really strong. So my intentions when I designed this was to use 2x6 exterior girts, 2 foot on center, and interior 2x4 girts, 2 foot on center. But when I ordered all the windows, I had this idea. They offered pre-installed jambs on the windows. So we figured out what that jamb needed to be. The windows all came with the wrong depth jamb. So the interior framing, which have we already done the interior framing in the house? I don't think we've gotten to that. You'll see that I had to use a different method. Well, I didn't have to, I had to make a choice. Same thing with the garage, I had to make a choice. Do I wanna just use standard girts and then extend the jambs on the windows? And so kind of the way I looked at this is like, okay, in the house, I'm gonna build 2x4 walls, put them inside the posts, and then in the garage, I'm going to use bookshelf girts, and that way I've used basically every method, and I can kind of determine what I like. So it kind of worked out.
Sure.
But I definitely have a system now that is much more efficient. Now, standard girts are very common in post frame as well as bookshelf girts. And it kind of depends on how you want to build, or you can use a combination like I did here in the garage. They're really strong. They're really not too bad to put in. If you wanted to use just bookshelf girts, that's something you can do. It's your inside and outside nailer. So, there's just things you have to think about when you're doing it.
Are there any like insulation impacts when you're using one or the other?
I mean, there are. You have a thermal bridge there. I mean, wood is an insulation, but you do have more thermal bridges with the bookshelf girts. But if you're using spray foam or a good mineral wool or rock wool, you're probably not gonna notice.
Sure. So it's going to be more
efficiency. It's going to be good.
Yeah, still going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those instances, this video, where like, have you done bookshelf girts on anything else that we've done, or is this kind of it?
No, I haven't. And here's the thing: bookshelf girts are really strong. The problems you're going to encounter with bookshelf girts is you have to stand all your columns. You can't build them on the ground, but they are a little bit more difficult to put in. I mean, you can build block as you go up the column, setting them in there. It's a little bit more time consuming. It is your outside and inside nailer, but you're getting a thinner wall cavity. And then you have to be careful on your set. Like they'll want to sag.
Sure.
So when you're screwing your steel off, you're going to have to make sure that you're keeping them in a straight line. Once the screws are in there, they're fine.
Sure. Yeah.
So there are some things that you have to think about, but it is a pretty common way for some post frame builders to build.
And this would be a less expensive way, probably, right?
Probably you're using
Less material.
half the boards.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it would be less expensive from a material standpoint. You're going to lose some wall thickness. It's going to be strong. If you're going to use spray foam, it's going to be a little bit challenged because now you're only going to have a 5.5 inch wall cavity. Now the way I did it here is I had my standard girts and then I used a bookshelf girt. So my wall cavity is 7.5 inches. The way we do it now, we have, let's see, 5.5 and 1.5 inches. 7. I said 7.5. It's only 7, but you would end up with an 8.5 inch wall cavity the way we do it now.
Sure.
Which is super nice because then all of your plumbing and electrical can be inside the spray foam,
Right.
which makes it really, really nice.
Yes.
And it's way faster
Yes.
building.
Yeah. So there's definitely pros and cons to it, and it doesn't mean that somebody couldn't do it this way, or like it's not one of those easy like do this or don't do this. It's kind of like weigh the options.
And I have a way that I like to do it that I found is really efficient as far as like from a building standpoint, from a, what would you call it? Energy standpoint.
Yes. Yeah.
It makes it easy for all the trades, but this is a completely fine way to do it. There's multiple ways to do this and it would turn out great. So it's just another option. We have a couple of patrons that have done bookshelf girts on their entire build and they've been happy with it, so.
Yeah. It's crazy seeing the garage like
Clean.
definitely just like empty of like any, like no walls
I know.
really and stuff, like
Makes you want to do it again, doesn't it?
kinda.
It'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what we've learned through the last few years is that self-building, I think, is quite the adventure.
Yeah.
So,
No, for sure. You see that hammer I'm using?
Yeah.
That's the S-Wing that I found on the highway when I was like 18. Still using it at 30.
at that point, you're probably 39 or 40. No, you would have been 40 at this point, I think.
Yeah.
So is plumbing and electrical running that easier with the way you do it now?
Yes, because you're going to have to, your plumber and electrician's going to have to drill holes and all these. Now, depending on this, the bookshelf girts will, if you have a wall cavity that's taller than 10 feet, that will solve your fire blocking. Like you won't have to think about, like if you live in a place that's going to require that. Like I'm not worried about having a 20-foot wall cavity that doesn't have fire blocking. I'm just not. But code says every 10 feet you have to have a fire block. So what we've done is we'll throw a bookshelf girt in halfway up the wall and anything that's over, so it breaks it up into smaller gaps.
Right.
So that would solve your issue there, but it will be more work for the plumber and electrician because he just doesn't have this wall cavity, the open wall cavity. And then he's gonna have to go up and over the columns. If you're only using a bookshelf girt, you can't drill through you don't wanna drill through your poster column, so he's gonna have to run his wire up and over, which is gonna cost more because there's a lot more wire.
Sure. So this method definitely, like at first, could be a cost saver, but then in the end, it could be not a cost saver.
Right. I mean, there's pros and cons to every way you do it, but I feel like the standard girt, outside, inside, 3 inches of closed on your walls. I mean, it is a really.
I mean, you've gotten really efficient.
Process.
Yeah. You guys have gotten efficient with doing it, and
So with cabinets, you come back and just add more interior girts. With this, I assume you just have more flush nailers for like your cabinets and
Yes,
stuff like that?
it'd be same. Like, so on any of our exterior walls on homes we build now, we'll look at the cabinet plan and I'll make sure I have, a girt. And I only have to worry about this on the exterior walls. Make sure I have one at the bottom and top of the lower cabinets, which usually do just naturally, but then also a nailer at the bottom of the upper cabinets, in the middle, and the top, depending on the height of the cabinets. And that way, that's really nice because then you don't have to go searching for studs. You have a 2x4 that runs all the way across at 54 to 57.5 inches, and that makes it really easy hanging cabinets.
Yeah. Now, would you say because whether you use bookshelf or, we're using girts on your exterior walls. So would you say, like, if somebody has a big item that is going to be hanging on their wall, should they try to pre-plan and put some more?
Yeah, speaking of that, behind that flag up there is a huge block because I have this dream that I'm going to kill some giant bull elk someday, and that's where I was going to hang it. So I did put some
extra
blocking in there.
Yeah.
It's no different than like in your bathrooms when you're, hey, where am I going to put towel bars? Where am I going to put my toilet thing?
Right.
A lot of times you can hang them in the drywall, but they're going to get ripped out. Your kid's going to rip it out.
I mean, that is something that you do that probably people would be shocked at how few professionals would go to those lengths. That's going to be something you're going to get in your like high-end
Yeah,
homes.
and so you need to think about, like, if you guys have some, something you want hanging or whatever else. It's like if you want a TV somewhere, you need to put some blocking in for the.
Right.
So I mean, those are things that we kind of went around the house when we got to that point and kind of laid out everything, and then I put blocking in. So
yes, and that, I guess, would be a huge advantage to self-building, is that you can spend that time meticulously going through your home, adding blocking, pre-planning things, and I think that because that's going to be the pace that the tradesman is going to go at. If they're not already planning on doing it, it's going to be really tough to get everything put together, because like you're headed down to do interior framing this week and you are going to like start and finish it in a week.
Right.
So the pace that it goes is incredibly quick.
Yeah.
So definitely that's an advantage to self-building, is being able to slow it down.
I'm doing it by myself, which is not normal. So typically, like this job, it would be a 2-day job for like most places. You know what I mean? They'd go in there and in 2 days that would all be framed, it'd be done, they'd be gone, off to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. I remember though that at that phase, I think because there was so much going on and so much transition in our lives, that was tough to think through everything and just think through like where you would want stuff and everything like that. So it really was pretty overwhelming. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, you're not alone. Maybe the next time, I think that, experience, I think will help us, like we'll be a lot less overwhelmed, or I will, if we were to do this again.
Yeah. It's interesting watching, like, man, so long ago I still had that, like all my tools were different, everything.
Your tool belt was different. You've got some nice stuff now.
Yeah.
I think those pants you're wearing are police pants.
Yeah, they were just running out all the rest of my police pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just watching all this, how much work it was, but I mean, I wouldn't say I was not efficient then, but like, man, you really, that's the benefit I have, is that I built so many of these, like you learn how to be more efficient, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, yes, I think if we were to build again, it would go so much faster.
Yeah, so much faster.
Yeah.
Well, and the challenge that most of you are going to have is the same challenge that we had, is that you have young kids that just like makes it so challenging.
Yes. Like it is just like, people who post about like having family time at their build site and stuff like that. It's like, well, that is all you're doing. There is nothing but the family time, which is good, but but like you can't, like you're not getting anything done.
Not when they're that little.
No, not when you still have people in diapers and.
So yeah, I guess kind of an overview of your options there's multiple ways you can frame up your post frame. If you want to build your walls on the ground, stand them up, you're going to need to use standard girts. If you want to use bookshelf girts, you're going to have to put your posts up. You're going to save a little money on the front end for materials because you only that 2x6 girt is going to be your nailer for the inside and outside, but it's going to cost you more money probably with plumbing and electrical.
Yeah, unless you're
and
like
time.
Right, unless you're like us and you did all of your garage electrical is in conduit on the outside of the steel.
Sure, yeah, that's true. Yeah, this was our garage, and I wasn't worried about that. I wanted all conduit so I could change and kind of evolve the garage.
I would do that all day, every day.
If you're going to do metal.
Yes, if you're wanting to do metal on the interior of your garage or shop space, I would recommend that all day long. Doing all of your lighting on the outside of it, cutting as few holes as possible in it, because it is tough. We had a job that our guys had to cut. I think it was like 80 penetrations in this building, and even when you're good, it's tough to cut it and make it look good. Yeah, and it's so time consuming. It took them an extra week on the job pretty much because of it.
Well, not just for that, but.
Well, but that was a huge factor.
Yeah, it was.
And that's, so you'll save yourself a lot of angst if you just keep it simple.
Yeah. When I look at the way I built this, there's a reason this thing doesn't move when there's 70-mile-an-hour winds.
That is for real. That is for real. Yeah, that is definitely not a problem that we are having, even though unbeknownst to us, we moved into like the new tornado alley.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that's going to be a wrap, and you'll see. And I'll talk about, how I did the interior framing of the house and the exterior walls. Not ideal, but I had to make a decision. And I don't know, I'm not sorry I did it. It'd take a lot more time. But, we'll talk about it when we get to that point. But
yeah, exactly. Yep, so just remember there is a lot of different ways to do stuff, but that's another reason why joining our Patreon group can be super beneficial is because you get to bounce ideas and do your research, figure out what's gonna work best for your situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're glad you came along for this video in this series.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a wrap. So if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and we will catch you on the next video.